How did Lebron James become the greatest basketball player ever? Stick around to find out.
This is a continuous improvement movement reserved for the few with the grit to prove it. Everybody claim, but the click exclusive. Many pursue, but it's too elusive.
Today we are going to talk about LeBron James. Are you excited?
I am excited. I love LeBron. I think he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest.
If not the greatest. We'll leave you to have your own opinion, but the statistics don't lie. That's all I'm saying. Calvin, how can somebody like LeBron James, in the last year of his career, still, he's right now in his last year, he's twice as good as he's ever been. How is this possible? How can somebody that has achieved it all in the sport of basketball in 21 years still continue to improve?
LeBron is a phenomenal basketball player, but I think there are some prerequisites to becoming the greatest player that start in the mind, the mentality. So I used to love Kobe's mantra. He had the Mamba mentality. I don't know if LeBron has a mentality. I think he does have a mantra of strive for greatness, right? And it's clear in the way he's managed himself in his career, and even still so in the twilight of his career, he's still finding ways to contribute at a very high level. In fact, becoming one of the best shooters in the game today. So I think it goes back to his mindset of just no matter what, every time you show up to play, you show up to win, and you show up to play at a level of excellence that most people just don't strive for. Most folks in his position will just be getting by, maybe doing a little bit, maybe trying to help others. He's still trying to be the leading by example, right? Set an example of what excellence looks like for the rest of us to aspire to.
That's right. He embodies excellence. And let me tell you some stats that will put it into perspective for you. So this man spends about $1.5 million a year on recovery, on making sure the machine, his body, is at peak performance. So $1.5 million. Dollars. And of course, you might imagine he has a very strict diet as well. Lean protein, everything that you can do to maintain a high performing body, he has to do it because obviously he's one of the highest performing athletes in the world.
Yeah.
So, Calvin, how should companies be thinking about investment when it comes to continuous improvement?
Okay, so you got to look at this in two ways. One, companies have an operating budget, right? And they have a certain amount of money that they put back into the business just for basic operational needs, right? That's one thing, right? That's just kind of sheer survival. I think LeBron is a great example because he goes well beyond basic needs and basic survival needs, right? And he's using all the science and the technology and way ahead of the game that's needed for just basic body, maintenance of the body, right? The body heals itself. You give it enough time. So some people do nothing, do very little, right? You hear a lot of NBA players and professional athletes that just do the bare minimum, needed. But this is a guy who goes well above that. And part of the reason he sees the need to make that kind of investment is because he's ambitious. He's still going for championship rings, right? He's still going for the gold, even though he has all the money, he has all the records, right? But it's not enough. He needs also excellence, right? It's almost like being in pursuit of perfection. So it all comes back to the mentality. And if you have that, if you have the ambition, and the drive and the thrive for greatness, all the other decisions that come behind that sort of follow suit to make that achievement possible.
So we just discussed investment, right? Something tangible, it has a dollar amount attached to it that helps him perform at a high level. Now let's talk about, you mentioned mindset. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Continuous improvement is not just investment. It's in big part, It is a mindset, it is a culture, it is a lifestyle. He is consistently studying his opponents. He has coaches. He has obviously his drills and the basketball IQ. He's putting everything into adapting, evolving, and continue pushing to be better.
Absolutely.
What is your take on that?
I've worked with a lot of managers that, at a certain age, once they get like north of 50, right, they're still in the game. They're still on the court. They're still playing and making plays. But they've kind of just fallen back to, what, my job isn't necessarily to score points for the team anymore. It's to coach the younger generation, right? Obviously, LeBron has a completely different mentality than these managers, right? These managers aren't looking to build skills anymore. They're not looking to build capability anymore. They're just focusing on building the capability of others, right? It's almost like what I do doesn't matter anymore. It's what you do now, right? And I think that's a big miss in the corporate world. I think everybody who is still collecting a paycheck, and a lot of time these managers are collecting a way higher paycheck, should be trying to advance their skills to create more value, right? Because they're kind of resign themselves to a non-value creating role. Not really, honestly, not really doing a lot for the business, right? Kind of depending on other people to do it. So LeBron, though, going back, this is a guy who is approaching 40, right? And I know what that's like. Approaching 40, and he's still trying to figure out more ways to create value, more ways to score. When he first came into the game, it was all about high flying slam dunks and alley hoops and all the rest. You saw his game evolve to being an assist player where he's creating opportunities for his teammates, and he's still scoring, but he's giving them opportunities to score too. Now he's evolving this game again. Knees getting a little old, hips getting a little old, right? He doesn't have the same bounce in his step like he used to. Now he's like lighting it up from beyond the arc and still being productive.
Yeah.
So he's still picking up new games and evolving his game, new skills and evolving his game, even so late in his career. I think this is a great lesson that a lot of us as business leaders can take away.
That is so important, Calvin, because I heard somewhere a while back that some people, let's take this 21 years of experience, okay? You went into the job in the first 2 3 years, you learn how to do this job, and some people stay there doing the same thing for the rest of their career. So is it really 25, 21 years of experience, or is it three? Which one is it? So you have to keep evolving and have to continue to finding ways to get better. Like we can see in the LeBron James case, it is always possible to get better. There is always something that can be improved. So, Calvin, we have the investment, we have the adaptability, we have the evolution of skills. Now, let's move on and talk about failure. Reflecting about failure is one of the most important steps in the continuous improvement journey because that's where you learn. How do you think, we can see this on a basketball player, for example. They review the game, they go see themselves, they go see how the other players did and what they did. How should a company use this reflect about failure to improve?
You know, the challenge you see in a lot of business environments, corporate environments, is that the people at the top control the narrative a lot of time. And in fact, when they lose the narrative, they're probably in trouble, right? But because they control the narrative, they're also not as likely to put their failures forward and use them as learning opportunities. So I think it's Alcoholics Anonymous that says, the first step to recovery is admitting that you have a problem, right? So I think the first thing is admitting you have a problem, and even maybe going a little step further and saying there is a problem. There is always room for improvement. So let's just accept the fact, set it at the baseline that we screwed up, or we did something less than ideal, or we could have done that better. Let's now reflect on and expose those golden nuggets of opportunity for how you can do better, right? And I think in LeBron's case is another great example is that he is very deliberate about learning from his own failures. I think his failures are very public. They didn't win a championship. They didn't win a game they were supposed to win. He didn't have a good shooting night. He wasn't aggressive enough, right? His failures are very, very public. So it's maybe a little bit easier for him to say, okay, fine, I didn't shoot very well. My number sucked. Let me go back to the whiteboard and figure out what I did wrong so I can come stronger next time, right? I think executive leaders need to have the same mindset of, hey, we didn't do good today, or this week, or this month, or this quarter. We didn't do very good. Let's go back to the whiteboard. Let's, evaluate what we did wrong, and let's come stronger. But not just that, you need to have a good eye out for the competition and what they're doing right and what they're doing better. And be humble about benchmarking and saying, yeah, they're doing some things we should probably be doing. Let's get on it. Let's not waste time, right? Because when you have that mentality of strive for greatness, time is your biggest enemy. And you need to have a sense of urgency of getting there and getting there fast. And I think too many people don't have a sense of urgency. They're like, hey, we got all the time in the world. If something goes wrong, I can always blame this other person. All the things, right? So I think part of that CI mindset mentality comes with not appreciating the fact that you don't have forever, and in fact, the sooner you can get past the chasm, the better.
Thank you, Calvin. So remember, invest, adapt, reflect, and get better every day. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. For daily news on operational excellence and how it relates to current events, check us out on the Ticket to Freedom podcast.
Simply subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay up to date on the latest developments in continuous improvement.